The bathroom is warm enough to fog the mirror, and the towel hangs a little crooked like it gave up halfway. He wipes one clear strip across the glass, then stops, eyes drifting away from his own reflection. You watch it happen and feel something unfamiliar, not desire, not disgust, just a quiet thinning, like a song you used to love losing its hook. At 20, you would have called this mystery. Now it feels like hiding. The men who once dazzled you start to read as one note, one pose, one endless performance. And you catch yourself thinking, why am I not moved anymore? Jung called a woman's inner masculine her animus. In plain life, it is the part of you that decides what masculine energy feels safe to trust, what kind of man you admire, and what you will not build a future on. When that inner chooser grows up, your type changes, and the old chemistry can start to taste like smoke. There is a certain kind of attraction that only works when you are willing to blur yourself. It looks glossy from the outside. It looks like confidence, like someone who knows exactly how to take up space, like a man who can walk into a room and bend the air toward him. But inside your own body, it often feels like waiting, like holding your breath, like keeping one eye on the door even when you are sitting right beside him. You learn this the slow way, not through a dramatic ending, but through a quiet morning. The bathroom is humid, the mirror is fogged, and the towel on the hook hangs slightly crooked. He wipes a strip of glass clean with the heel of his hand, as if he is trying to make a little window inside the blur. Then he stops, not because he is done, but because he cannot stand what he might see if he keeps going. His gaze slides away from his own eyes. He adjusts his shirt collar like it is urgent. He checks his phone without unlocking it. You can almost hear the internal scrambling, the way someone rushes to perform when being real starts to come close, and you realize, with a strange calm, that you have dated this exact movement before. The moment intimacy appears, they reach for a costume. The moment you might meet a full person, they offer you a polished version instead. The shift in you is not loud. It is not even angry. It is just a quiet noticing, like tasting something you used to crave and suddenly recognizing the aftertaste. You used to call it mystery. You used to call it depth. You used to call it masculine. Now it feels like absence dressed as presence. A thought passes through you, clean and almost cruel in its simplicity. I do not want to love someone I cannot even meet. You stand there for a second, longer than usual, feeling the damp air on your skin, listening to the soft drip of water from the faucet. He clears his throat, like he wants to fill the silence with anything. And you notice how often you used to help with that, how often you used to rescue the moment. Smile, change the subject, make it easy. Today you do not to punish him, not to test him. Just because something in you has changed its appetite, you are no longer hungry for the performance. You are hungry for the person. And that is the first grief of a changing type. You do not only lose him, you lose the version of yourself that could live on fog and illusion and call it love. There is nothing wrong with the first kind of wanting. It is young in you, even if you are not young anymore. It is the part that still remembers being 20 and feeling your whole life hinge on who texted back. It is the part that lights up when a man looks like a movie, when his body speaks before his mouth does. When the message is simple, I can protect you. I can take you. I can win. You can almost see the old scenes like quick flashes. A crowded bar. The sweet sting of cheap perfume in your nose. A hand on your lower back, guiding you through the room like you belong to him. Your friends laughing too loud. Your heart pounding like it is proud of itself. And your inner line, whispered like a confession. This is what it feels like to be chosen. Stage 1 of a woman's animus development often starts here, in the body, in plain life. It means you are drawn to visible strength and obvious dominance because it gives you a clear shape to lean against. You do not have to think too much. You do not have to ask what the future is. The heat is the point. But then you grow, and the same heat starts to demand a price. It wants you impressed, not met. It wants you a little smaller so he can feel bigger. It wants your attention like a trophy. And you start to notice the small negotiations you used to call normal. The way you softened your opinions, the way you laughed at jokes that cut you, the way you pretended you did not need clarity because needing clarity felt unsexy. Midday, at your desk. Your phone lights up. The bright screen sits on the wood like a small moon. The message is from someone you have already outgrown, even if you have not admitted it out loud. Come over tonight. No hello, no plan, no care. Just a hook tossed into the water to see if you will bite. Your fingers hover over the keyboard. The old you wants to answer fast, to prove you are still wanted, to feel the old spark catch. A part of you even romanticizes it. Like urgency is romance. Like being summoned means you matter. I almost text. I don't. You breathe once. You notice the way your stomach tightens. Not from desire, but from a familiar anxiety that you used to mistake for chemistry. The fogged mirror returns in your mind. The wiped strip of honesty. The way performance replaces presence. So you type one clean sentence, and you do not decorate it. When you are ready, say it clearly. You send it and set the phone face down, as if you are closing a door gently instead of slamming it. The room feels quieter, your heartbeat slows, and for a moment, the quiet scares you, because you are used to intensity being the proof that something is real. But this is what it looks like when your type starts changing. You stop letting the body choose alone. You start asking for a man who can meet you in daylight, not just in heat. The next shift is quieter than you expect. You do not suddenly crave a saint. You just start wanting a man whose actions do not make you squint. He says 8:30, and he arrives when the clock is still honest. Your phone is on your desk again, glowing at 12:07 p.m. like it is trying to hypnotize you. A new message comes in from someone different, someone who does not fish for you with vagueness. Dinner at the small Italian place near your office. 7:15. I made a reservation. And here is the strange part. Your chest does not flip the way it used to. Your mind tries to translate that calm into an insult. Like calm means he is not that into you, or you are not that into him. Inner fear gets misread as outer truth, and you almost decide you should feel more. I hate that I do this. So you start hunting for sparks the old way. You replay his text like a critic. You zoom in on his punctuation. You wonder if you should delay your reply, just to see if he chases. I notice how often women say they are bored when they are actually unfamiliar with calm. A pattern I keep seeing is the moment she stops chasing intensity and starts craving steadiness. She panics and calls it chemistry fading. Here's what tends to happen. The old type still looks attractive, but it no longer feels like home. The new type feels plain at first, then deeply nourishing later. You look at the message again and let it be simple. A plan, a time, a place, a man moving toward you without making you audition for it. This is stage 2 in real life, when the seduction becomes follow-through, not the speech, not the swagger, but the steady act of showing up. And the first time you meet it, Your system might not celebrate, because you are used to love arriving as a problem to solve. So you do a small experiment with yourself. You answer without performing. Sounds good. See you at 7:15. You do not add a joke to be likable, or a question to test him, or an apology for being available. And when the fear whispers, "This is too easy. He must not care," you gently correct it. "No, this is easy because it is clear. This is calm because no one is playing a game." That is how your type begins to change, not by force, by accuracy. By the time you reach the next stage, you start craving something you cannot photograph. Not just a man who looks good beside you, not just a man who can plan a date, but a man who can stay awake inside a conversation. You do not want endless talking. You want presence. You want the feeling that your mind is not an inconvenience. You find this out in a diner that looks like it has been there forever. The paper menu is wrinkled from too many hands. The booth seat squeaks when you slide in. A pen sits beside a glass of water, as if someone could sign a contract here without making a scene. He does not try to impress you. He tells you a story that makes him look ordinary, maybe even a little foolish. He talks about a time he let someone down, and how he tried to fix it without making excuses. His voice is steady. His eyes do not dart away at the first hint of discomfort. Then he says, softer, almost like he is asking permission to be human. "Please do not judge me too fast." And something in you relaxes, not because he is perfect, because he is real enough to be seen, because he is not using charm to escape accountability, because he is not turning your attention into a stage where he has to win. This is stage 3 in plain life. Your attraction starts pulling toward mind and meaning. You are moved by a man who can reflect, who can name his own patterns, who can sit with a hard truth without blaming you for it. The old type would have tried to sweep this moment away with a joke. He would have flirted to avoid the tenderness of being known. He would have made the conversation a performance again, something shiny you could clap for. But this man stays with it. You take a slow sip of water, feeling the cool glass against your fingers, noticing the small sounds around you, the clink of a spoon, the soft hum of people living their ordinary lives. And you think, almost with surprise, this is intimacy, not fireworks, not confusion. Just two adults telling the truth in a small booth. You do not say it out loud, but a new standard starts forming under your skin. I want someone I can think with. I want someone who can hold a difficult moment without punishing me for needing depth. The electricity now is not chaos. It is clarity. Stage 4 does not announce itself with visions or a dramatic turning point. It arrives like a simple decision that you finally stop arguing with. It is late afternoon in a park that has seen better days. The bench paint is peeling in thin curls. Dry leaves cling to the sole of your shoe when you cross your legs. You take out a small notebook, the kind you used to buy for a new habit and abandon after a week. And you open it like you are about to tell the truth to yourself. You write one sentence, not a wish, not a fantasy, a standard, and then you close the notebook, slow and deliberate, as if you are closing a door on every version of your life that begged for less. I do not negotiate the minimum. This is what the highest stage looks like in ordinary life. It is not about wanting a perfect man, or a spiritual man who speaks beautifully and leaves you lonely. It is about wanting a man whose inner center is stable, who lives with an ethical spine, who treats love like something he is responsible for. You stop being seduced by spiritual language and start paying attention to behavior. Does he repair after a mistake? Or does he punish with silence? Does he keep his word? Or does he talk about his potential like it is a substitute for action? Does he respect your time, your sleep, your dignity? Or does he treat them as flexible when it benefits him? Partner choice becomes less about chemistry and more about character. And you notice how the men who used to charm you now feel strangely unsafe, even if they never raised their voice, because you can sense the gap between their words and their life, and you no longer have the appetite to bridge that gap for them. You sit on the bench for a moment, notebook warm in your palm, watching a couple walk past with a dog that keeps stopping to sniff the same patch of grass. The world is simple. The world is honest. The world does not pretend. You breathe out and let the decision settle. Your type is changing because you are changing, not into someone cold, into someone who can see, into someone who will not trade her future for a feeling that disappears by morning. No one tells you that growing out of your old type can feel like losing a whole city. Not because the city was good for you, but because you knew the streets. You knew how to survive there. You knew which corners to avoid and which places still made you feel alive, even if it was the kind of alive that came with a crash afterward. Now the room gets quieter. Fewer people catch you the way they used to. Your friends show you photos, and you can appreciate the beauty without feeling pulled under. Someone flirts with you at a coffee shop, and you smile. But you do not hand your heart over just because the attention is warm. And that quiet can feel lonely, like you are doing something wrong. You catch yourself staring at your phone, not because you miss a particular man, but because you miss the feeling of being in motion. The old pattern offered constant stimulation, constant guessing, constant little jolts of hope and disappointment. It filled time. It filled your mind. It filled the places where you were afraid to be alone with your own thoughts. On your kitchen counter, the kettle clicks off with a small final sound. You pour hot water into a mug and drop in a tea bag. You watch it steep until the clear water turns amber, until the sharpness softens into something you can actually drink. A draft text sits unsent on your screen, the kind of message that reopens an old door without admitting that is what it is. A soft invitation to be chosen again, to be pulled back into familiar confusion. Your thumb hovers. I almost text. I don't. You delete it. The quiet rushes in after, almost too big. The scrape of your chair on the floor sounds louder than it should. The hum of the fridge is suddenly noticeable. You sit down anyway. You let the tea warm your hands. You let the loneliness be just loneliness, not an emergency. Because this is part of psychological maturity in real life. It is not a glow-up montage. It is choosing boredom over chaos until boredom turns into peace. It is letting your standards create space and trusting that the space is not a punishment. It is a clearing. You do not need to fill every silence with a person. Sometimes the silence is where your new self finally has room to arrive. At some point, you realize your type was never just about men. It was about what you believed you deserved to feel. If you grew up thinking love had to be earned, you might have been drawn to the kind of man who made you work for scraps of attention. If you learned that being wanted was the same as being valued, you might have chased desire even when it came wrapped in disrespect. Partner choice becomes a mirror, and the mirror is not always kind. You think back to the fogged bathroom mirror, the towel still crooked, the strip of clear glass he wiped and then abandoned. That image keeps returning because it is so simple. A man unable to face himself will eventually ask you to carry his avoidance. He will call it being private. He will call it being complicated. He will call it needing time. And you, if you are not careful, will call it depth. You remember the way you used to help, the way you would soften your questions, so he would not feel pressured. The way you would accept half answers, so he would not feel judged. The way you would become more and more skilled at living around what was missing. Then you hear your own voice in your head, tired and honest. I hate that I do this. So you start making a different choice. Not a dramatic vow, not a speech, just a small refusal to participate in the old dance. You stop romanticizing inconsistency. You stop translating silence into meaning. You stop calling anxiety a sign that you have met your match. And you let the new standard be plain. If he cannot meet you with clarity, he cannot meet you at all. That does not mean you demand perfection. It means you refuse confusion as a lifestyle. It means you choose the kind of man who can look at himself, because you have spent enough years dating someone else's fog. And when you choose that, something shifts inside you. Your life starts getting quieter, not emptier. Your heart starts feeling less like it is sprinting and more like it is walking beside you. The attraction changes shape, from hunger to recognition. Not who can thrill you, who can hold you. The proof of your new type is not a grand romantic moment. It is a small moment where you do not shrink. You are at a little party in someone's apartment. The air smells like citrus and perfume and the faint warmth of bodies packed into a small space. Glasses clink. Conversations overlap like soft waves. You are talking to an old friend, laughing at a story you have heard before. And you notice how easy it feels to be fully there. He is across the room, not hovering, not scanning you like you might disappear. He catches your eye once, just a quiet check-in, then looks away again without drama. When your water is low, he refills it and sets it down beside you like it is the most normal thing in the world. Then he steps back. No claiming, no performance, no subtle punishment for giving your attention to someone else. Just presence that does not demand to be proved. And you feel the old reflex rise for a second. The reflex that says, this is too calm. Something must be missing. The reflex that used to mistake inner fear for outer truth. Like anxiety was a sign you had found something fated. Maybe it's coincidence. The point is what it does to your attention and choices. You watch yourself, almost tenderly, as you choose not to chase a feeling. You choose not to create a problem just to feel alive. You choose to let calm be real. Because calm does not mean bland. It means no one is taking pieces of you to feel powerful. It means your nervous laughter does not have to cover for someone else's avoidance. It means you can wear your own mind in public without being punished for it. You think of the park bench, the peeling paint, the dry leaves stuck to your shoe. You think of the notebook in your hands, the weight of it, the way you closed it like a vow you were finally ready to keep. I do not negotiate the minimum. That is the clean standard now. Not how intense it feels at the beginning, but how your life feels inside it. Do you sleep? Do you speak freely? Do you keep your dignity without fighting for it? He walks back over and asks if you want to leave soon. Not as a test, not as a demand, just a simple offer. And you realize this is what you have been growing toward. A love that does not require you to abandon yourself to earn it. If you could name the pattern, what would you call it?